Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. I'm Tim Walker, the Executive Director of the Metro Historical Commission. I want to welcome you to our 43rd Annual Preservation Awards program. Our awards program, which was created in the early 1970s, was created to recognize and promote the ongoing work of historic preservation, which was really in its infancy in the 1970s. So whether it's maintaining a historic building by some homeowner or an architect adaptively rehabbing a commercial or civic building, or a designer constructing infill that's compatible with its historic context, we're really excited to recognize the best of these projects today. However, before we begin, I want to take a brief moment to thank those who have really made today's event possible. So I want to start by thanking the members of the Metro Historical Commission and the Metro Historic Zoning Commission. Our commissioners volunteer their time and their energy and provide guidance to myself and to our staff, and we really thank them for their service. So if you're a member of the Metro Historical Commission and Historic Zoning Commission, would you please stand to be recognized? Thank you very much. I also want to take some time to thank the three sponsors of our reception this afternoon. The first is the Doyle Hotel, who's donating their space for the event. And I also want to thank the other two sponsors who helped to fund it. First, Historic Nashville Incorporated, or H&I, our local nonprofit for historic preservation. So if you're a board member of Historic Nashville or on its advisory council, would you please stand to be recognized? Thank you. And I finally want to thank the members of the Metro Historical Commission Foundation, the nonprofit that assists our office with its work. So if you're a board member of the Metro Historical Commission Foundation, would you please stand? And to close, I want to thank the Nashville Public Library for allowing us to use this wonderful space, and Metro ITS, who's taping the awards program for airing on Metro Channel 3. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the chair of the Metro Historical Commission, who's also a two-term council member, and I'll add an avid baseball fan, Mr. Jim Forcom.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you, everyone, for attending today. It's a good crowd, and certainly we've had some good programs in the past, and today won't be any different. It's my honor and privilege today to introduce our speaker, Mayor David Briley. He is the 8th mayor of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County. Most of you know that his grandfather, Beverly Briley, was the first mayor back in 1963, if I've got my dates right, of the newly formed Metropolitan Nashville and Davidson County government. So he goes way back, and certainly, I guess trivia question B, who's the two people who named Briley with the last name, can you name the first names here in a few years, you know? So anyway, I'm not going to tell a joke like happened last year, but anyway, the thing about Mayor Briley, too, he grew up in Nashville. He's a native Nashvilleian. He attended Glendale Elementary School. He attended Lipscomb Middle School. He attended Montgomery Bell Academy, and then he went on to attend Georgetown University. Did I get that right? So anyway, and after college, he actually, and I actually witnessed David speaking Spanish a few times, and I wondered how he learned that. And when I looked at his bio, he had, after college, he lived in Latin America, and where he volunteered as a teacher and became fluent in Spanish. And he went on and completed his Juris Doctorate at Golden Gate University in San Francisco and received honors for administrative and environmental law, practicing as an attorney prior to becoming mayor. David's married to Jody Bell, who is also a member of the bar, practicing criminal defense law. They have one son, Sam, and Mayor, like I said, I've already mentioned he was a grandson of Beverly Briley, but David served on the council from 19 1999 to 2007. And I served with him the last 4 years and got to know him, and I have the deepest respect. And with no further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker, David Briley, Mayor Briley.
Well, hello, friends, and thank you, Jim, for that kind introduction. And thanks, Tim, for everything that you and your staff do for Nashville every working day of the year. Since 1973, the Historical Commission has recognized more than 400 properties through the Preservation Awards program, and 15 more, plus 5 honorable mentions, are joining that list today. This year's nominees represent 11 council districts. That's almost a third, I guess. And many projects are located within what they call preservation hotspots, where there's already a conservation overlay or a historic landmark zoning overlay or something similar. But several of the projects this year are in neighborhood beyond any of our protection districts. Nominated projects include several unique examples of adaptive reuse, including the conversion of a historic blacksmith shop over on, that's on Jefferson Street, right? It's got good, they make a fine drink, I will tell you that. It's an excellent restaurant. It's within walking distance of my home, in case you were worried. Don't worry. A church has been turned into offices and housing, and a former drugstore into a recording studio. Residential projects span Nashville's history, from the early 19th century Buchanan Harding House, which I learned, I think, somehow associated with my fifth great-grandfather, Major John Buchanan, in Nashville. And that's at Two Rivers Mansion. And there's also a mid-20th century Stark Grisham House in Madison. The monuments and memorials category includes the 19th century Compton family cemetery and the majestic Percy Warner Memorial sandstone entrance from 1932. Collectively, these projects, along with the numerous infill and historic homes lovingly renovated, I've done that myself over in East Nashville some years ago, but help tell Nashville's very unique history. I want to thank each of the award winners for all the sweat equity and financial equity you've put into preserving these historic places. It's so important that we maintain our many ties to Nashville's past as we possibly can. Nashville, frankly, has not done a great job in that in the past. I also want to congratulate the following individual and group award winners: Lorenzo Washington, the Friends of Fort Negley, and Gene Roseman. Each of you have made tremendous contributions to the historic preservation of our city, and we can't thank you enough. Before I leave the mic, I do want to also acknowledge one other person who's not on my prepared remarks, but that's Councilman John Cooper, who is, I think, here in the back row. And Councilman Cooper, certainly in his short tenure in the Metro Council, has demonstrated a true love of the history of this town and stood up strong as a leader in the efforts to protect Fort Negley, and I think he deserves a round of applause.
As I tell everybody at the commission, my giddy up and goes got up and gone. But I want to today to present the Fletcher Koch Award. It'll go to Gene Roseman. Fletcher Koch was the Historical Commission recognized her as a leader and activist in historic preservation in our community with an Achievement Award in 1997. 20 years later, Ms. Koch remains a role model for volunteers and professionals alike. Her contributions have helped to preserve, fund, and restore many of the places and things that make our city unique. Without her intervention, many of our city's landmarks may have been lost. The Fletcher Koch Award honors her extraordinary efforts to preserve the history and historic landmarks of Nashville and Davidson County. Recipients selected for their tenacity, curious spirit, and excellence in historic research, writing, and promotion of Nashville's local history and historic places. This year's Fletcher Koch Award, I'm honored to say, goes to a very good friend of mine, Miss Jean Roseman. Jean is a leader in the Jewish community and history in Nashville. Her multiple books and her work in public education have helped bring to light this little-known piece of Nashville's history. She grew up in the Boston area, surrounded by the Revolutionary War history, landmarks, houses, cairns, and monuments. After attending University of Germany, she graduated from Acadia University in Canada with a major in German and minors in English and history. She has done graduate work at the University of Massachusetts, Boston State Teachers College, and George Peabody College for Teachers here in Nashville. She earned a Doctor of Education from Tennessee State University in Curriculum and Instruction. Ms. Roseman taught German in Nashville Public Schools for 28 years and developed a state curriculum for teaching Holocaust history, a course she taught at Hillsborough High School, which is my alma mater, except I was long gone before she entered that curriculum. Ms. Roseman has been busy in the Jewish community as an officer and board member in various organizations. She has published 3 books on Jewish history. Her first, From Y to J, the 100-Year History of Nashville's Jewish Community. The second, her book, Shalom, Nashville, A Jewish History. And thirdly, Barney and Clyde, an illustrated tale of murder and madness in Nashville. Ms. Roseman has contributed to the Nashville Historical Newsletter, the Nashville Retrospect, the Jewish Observer, a publication of the Jewish Federation of Nashville, and her speaking interests include the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at Vanderbilt University, the Conference of Southern Jewish Historical Society, the Bellevue History and Genealogy Group, which I know many of you have already talked to, that I run out in Bellevue, First Tuesday at Metro Archives, and numerous Jewish lunch and learn groups. And so without further ado, it is my great honor to introduce Jean Roseman. I might add that in about 4 hours, she'll be winging her way to Germany for a Holocaust meetings, and so
I'd like to say thank you to Fletcher Koch for her passion and passing it on through this award to people like myself. Many of us are not native Nashvillians like the mayor, but we've come, we've been charmed by Nashville. We like its unique history, and some of it very interesting, and I think that there's room for a Nashville History Museum, Mr. Mayor. In fact, wouldn't the Ben West Library be a wonderful location downtown where people could come and pay admission, come into an interactive museum with James Polk and Andrew Jackson and some of the people that have made Nashville's history so interesting. I'd like to thank you all, too, for your participation in preserving Nashville's history. It is a great history, and we need to be proud of it, and we need to pass it on to our young people. Thank you.
Now we move on to what so many of you have been waiting for, the Preservation Awards. I'm Cyril Stewart. I'm a Historic Zoning Commissioner, along with several others who are in the room here, and was fortunate to be asked to be one of the judges for the Preservation Awards. The other judges were Renee Tavares and Jean Harmon. We had a great day looking at phenomenal architecture and preservation projects. It was easy to see as we went around and looked at the different projects just how much passion so many of you people here in the room and so many people outside this room have for preservation and the history of our architecture and of our peoples. It's what makes Nashville unique. So we'd like to say thank you to each property owner, to each architect, contractor, designer, engineer, and cheerleader who worked on one of these nominated projects. Your passion, creativity, and tenacity made our job of selecting a few winners very difficult. But that's a good thing. And now, we can't wait to tell you about these terrific projects. So as I read the honorable mentions and the winning projects' names, will everyone associated with those projects come forward as I read the description? So let me say it once more time. So to try to keep this moving along, because we do have a lot of awards, once we announce the winners, if you'll start making your way up to the stage as we're describing the project, that'll move things along a little bit faster. And then we'll take a picture while you're up here. So we'll begin with the residential category. And let's look at the nominees. So you see the slides here. A lot of wonderful projects. This category is always very popular, and this year was no different. The group includes some of Nashville's oldest residential properties, as well as a mid-century suburban ranch house that has a unique preservation story for each of the projects. So we'll start with honorable mention. And the first honorable mention goes to 2308 Belmont Boulevard. Will the owner and team please come forward and join our award presenters on the stage? This project involved returning the 1920s bungalow to a single-family residence, along with building a new addition and garage. The team paid careful attention to the exterior, cleaning and repointing of the grapevine joints, recreating the brackets on the front stoop, and restoring the stucco. The new addition, designed by Allard Ward Architects, has great details and even features new stucco that was formulated to be an exact match with the original home. The team also included JL Design and Charles N. Massey Landscape Design. Great work. An honorable mention also goes to 714 Russell Street. And if you will please make your way forward. This project was designed also by Allard Ward Architects with Joe Riley as the contractor. It took the interior of this 1876 Dutch Renaissance revival home down to the studs to update all the systems and exposed the masonry openings that were enclosed by previous additions. Many of the brick, stone, and wood details were restored, including original curved glass windows that were returned to working order. The attic was converted to a full third floor, now accessed by a structurally cantilevered stair designed to match the historic staircase. As you can see from the slides, removing the siding made a world of difference. Great job. An honorable mention also goes to the Pennington residence at 202 Craighead Avenue. So if you will make your way forward. This project involved extensive renovations to the 1909 house. Significant damage from water, termites, and years of neglect required the rebuilding of the entire rear of the house. Once the house was stabilized and made structurally sound, the home was renovated and a modest 350 square foot rear addition was completed. The team included John Tassell, R. Hartley Scott, Hudson Builders, and Alabaster and Walnut Designs. We could tell a lot of work went into this project, and it was wonderfully done. A preservation award goes to 1817 4th Avenue North. This project in Salem Town included renovations to the 1870s house and a new rear addition to allow for a new kitchen, laundry area, and master suite. Although it adds significant square footage, the addition is modest and does not overwhelm the original home. We like how the new addition creates a small courtyard where it meets with the older home. A team of tailor-made plans, Borntrager Homes, and Compass Interiors completed this delightful project. Nice work. And a preservation award goes to 751 Benton Avenue. This project involved an extensive renovation, which included restoration of windows and flooring and updates to all systems. An older rear addition was removed and replaced with a larger addition. Taking advantage of the wider lot, the project included a side addition created to create two defined outdoor living spaces. The additions appear modest and appropriate to the scale of the house. The design by Allard Ward Architects continues the pyramidal roof form from the historic portion to the new addition. Great work. Great. And a preservation award goes to the Gill residence at 1208 Russell Street. This late Victorian era home suffered through some dramatic changes over the years, including the removal of decorative features inside and out, the addition of aluminum siding, reduced window openings, and lowered ceilings. Jeremy and Amy Gill didn't have much to work with in the beginning, but by gutting the house down to the studs, they found the original window sizes, ceiling heights, and floor plan, as well as small pieces of the original millwork that had been used as a filler. These pieces were used to replicate the missing trim and other decorative details. What a transformation. Is that amazing? So they are not here, but we will make sure that they get the award. A preservation award also goes to 143 Windsor Drive. If you're part of that project, please come forward. This project, designed by Allard Ward Architects and executed by Hammond and Brandt Builders, restored the exterior of the original home and installed a new cedar shake roof throughout. We really liked how the new addition is broken up and does not appear as one large wall. The design of the addition paired with a detached garage, along with outdoor design by Doc Rick Landscape Architects, creates exciting and dynamic spaces both inside and out. Materials and design also distinguish the new from the old. Beautiful work. And a preservation award goes to Lucindas House at historic Idlewild on Neely's Bend Road. Named for Lucinda, Robert Chadwell's domestic servant, who probably lived in this structure. The former servants' quarters may predate the 1874 farmhouse. The restoration involved replacing the roof, shoring up the foundation, refurbishing the stone chimney, and replacing the board and batten siding and repurposing it for the interior. The team included Joe Brunell, James Peters, and Tom Anderson. This outbuilding helps tell the complete story of the property, and we're impressed by the amount of work invested in such a small but important structure. And a preservation award goes to the Stark Grisham House at 804 Canton Pass. If you're here, if you'll please come forward. We were excited to see a mid-century ranch among the field of residential nominees. While the interior of the home was never significantly altered and retains most all of the original features, including the ultra-modern Youngstown steel kitchen, the exterior suffered from deferred maintenance and installation of vinyl and metal siding over the gable fields, attic vents, and all the wood trim. The project involved removing these materials and repairing and restoring what was uncovered through the process, from original windows to attic vents. Homeowner Robbie Jones completed most of the work himself with the hope of inspiring other DIY weekend warriors to restore their own ranch houses. The painstaking work did not go unnoticed. The end result is neat, clean, and almost like new. We were thoroughly impressed. Amazing job. Well, congratulations to all the residential award winners. And now my fellow judge, Renee Tavares, will continue with the next set of awards for educational and institutional properties. Renee?
And now the category is going to be for the educational and institutional properties. This category had one nominee this year, and we're happy to report that it is the winner. And the Preservation Award goes to the Buchanan Harding House, which is also known as the 1802 House. Most of us know this building as the 1802 House. However, recent research completed for the Two Rivers Mansion master plan suggested that the house was not built in 1802, but instead may have been constructed in 1820. The digits were just switched at some point in time. To alleviate confusion associated with the building's original construction date, the master plan completed by Encore Interpretive Design recommended the name Buchanan Harding House, which, for those that are from Nashville, it's going to take a little bit of time to get used to that name. So we are happy to oblige. This project was completed in 2 phases over several years, thanks to the leadership of the Friends of Two Rivers Mansion. And be sure to go to their website so that way you can get information on the master plan and also on their membership. And work by Grow General Contracting and the Metro Parks. The house now features a new shake roof, fresh repointing where needed, restored woodwork. The interior was cleaned, painted, and repaired. As recommended by the master plan, the house now displays furnishings that better tell its early 19th century story. We encourage everyone to visit the site, and it is a very beautiful project. And now we'll continue with the infill category. Here are the nominees, with the first honorable mention going to the Jones residence at 2315 Val Lane, which is located in the Waverly Belmont, one of the newest neighborhood conservation zoning districts. This property presented multiple challenges for development. Previously home to a 1950s cinder block church, the buildable area was small due to multiple easements running through the triangular lot, and the topography was awkward. Gill Construction and Design met the challenges successfully, and we like the project is not overbuilt. and we like the modest scale. It fits into the neighborhood and is a nice approach to a very difficult size. And I think the little one is going to get all the compliments here now. The Preservation Award goes to 1218 and 1220 Lilian Street. Lilian Street has seen many infill projects in recent years, but this is the first duplex built on the street. We think this design by Peggy Newman Designs, a modern duplex with details inspired by historic homes nearby, has a modest street presence. We like that it can read as a single-family home and does not have an obvious division between the two units. It is a nice precedent for future projects. A preservation award goes to the Jenkins at the corner of Belmont and Blair Boulevards. This multi-family project contains a 3-story building along the intersection and a 2-story building tucked within the development along the alley. Allard Ward Architects, Evergreen Real Estate, and a team of engineers and designers clearly took great care in connecting the project with the historic Belmont Hillsborough neighborhood. The contemporary design is simple and restrained, but well detailed, and the materials are of high quality. It anchors the neighborhood, but the setback prevents it from being obtrusive. Great work. The next infill project is also a preservation award, which goes to the Brown residents at 3726 Richland Avenue. This infill project involved the rebuilding of a historic house that was structurally unsound, along with a new addition and garage. The rebuilt portion of the home is immaculate, and it is obvious that extreme care was taken in reusing the original stone with new mortar and top-notch details. The new addition, which is tucked behind the 1-story home, is modern and dynamic. We like how Wells Designs considered the light and space in the courtyard, and we commend WAC contractors and Roof Owls Engineering for their critical work on the project. We're so glad the Browns remained true to the spirit of the neighborhood and kept the front portion of the house at 1 story. Excellent job. Congratulations, everyone, on infill, and now Jen Harmon will continue the rest of the awards.
Thank you, Renee. We will continue with the Monuments and Memorials category. This is a relatively new category in the program, created to better identify and recognize property types like cemeteries and monumental structures that contribute to the historic fabric of our community and to celebrate the work of those who preserve them. Here are the nominees. And a preservation award goes to Percy Warner Memorial Sandstone Entrance. Dedicated in April 1932 as a memorial to Percy Warner, this striking entrance to the park alley is constructed of Suwannee sandstone topped by stone eagles. Architect Edward Emmett Doherty designed the structure built by Omen Construction Company. After 86 years of welcoming visitors to Percy Warner Park, the gates were suffering from exposure to harsh conditions and general wear and tear. Friends of Warner Parks led a campaign to rehabilitate the structure. The project completed by the tradesman group involved cleaning of stone substrates, removing and repointing the mortar joints, and treatment of spalling sandstone, including replacement with matching limestone when needed. Tree limbs were even cut back to allow clearance around the structure. The end result is really lovely, and we're glad to see this historic and iconic place in the park treated with such care. Great work. And a preservation award goes to the Henry Compton Senior Cemetery. The earliest identified gravestone indicates that this family cemetery was active by 1838. The cemetery contains at least 27 interments based on extant grave markers. Some are box tomb style, but most are bed style with head and footstones. Dan Allen and Associates completed the first phase of this project, repairing, cleaning, and stabilizing the grave markers, which were in need of repair due to canting, severe fragmenting, and delamination due to natural weathering. The second phase addressed the incredible dry stacked dressed limestone block fence, which features curved corners and a step style. The park company carefully removed vines, trees, and scrub brush from the fence and rebuilt the collapsed areas. We know Charlie Koch and the Compton family descendants are thrilled with the work. Amazing job. Next, we'll continue with the commercial category. This category included several buildings that faced uncertainty and potential demolition from neglect, but were saved through innovative adaptive reuse. Each project was comprehensive and involved genuine investment in the property. All of the nominations were excellent, and we had a tough time with our decision. The nominees. An honorable mention goes to Rudy Title East at 608 Shelby Avenue. This innovative project converted a modest church building into offices and 6 Airbnb units. The original building posed many challenges. It suffered from deferred maintenance, vandalism, inappropriate alterations, significant water intrusion, failed systems, and more. Essentially, it was in terrible condition and likely faced demolition by neglect. The Rudy Title team, however, saw the building's potential and took on a tremendous amount of work to make the building viable once again. We thought this was a very creative approach to mixed use, and we admire the team's tenacity. Great job. The next preservation award goes to Geist Forge Building at 311 Jefferson Street. For over 100 years, this building housed the Geist family's blacksmith shop and ornamental ironwork and lawnmower repair business. Mothballed in 2006, the building sat vacant for almost 10 years before rehabilitation began. Historic Nashville even listed the property on our annual Nashville 9 list of the city's most endangered historic sites. Efforts to adapt the building for restaurant use were extensive. Collapsed porches were removed, deteriorating windows were replaced, exterior brickwork was repointed, new roofing was installed, skylights were rebuilt, floors were aligned, and more, all to return the building to a safe and stable condition. We're glad to see this building back in business, and we appreciate the use of details like new and old signage to share the property's history with patrons. Well done. Preservation award goes to the Noel at 200 4th Avenue North. The Marr and Holman designed Noel Hotel opened in 1930. The building served as a hotel for over 40 years before conversion into an office building with a ground floor bank. This project returned the building to its original use as a hotel with an 11-story steel and glass addition with guest rooms and a rooftop bar completed above the original ballroom. Along Church Street, retail windows were returned to their original sizes, and along 4th Avenue, the entrance was repositioned to the center of the facade. The interior double-height lobby remains intact with terrazzo floors, pink marble stairs, marble columns, and plaster and brass decorative details. The building also houses a coffee shop, retail spaces, restaurants, 2 bars, meeting rooms, and a library. The end result is a space that has much to offer for visitors and locals alike. Excellent work. Preservation award goes to Lehman Drug Company at 1128 3rd Avenue South. This was also listed on Historic Nashville's Nashville 9 as part of the Chestnut Hill neighborhood. This commercial building served as a drugstore until the 1990s when it was converted to a private residence. The project involved rebuilding the 3rd Avenue facade that was no longer structurally sound due to water damage. The wall was restructured, woodwork elements were rebuilt, window spaces were reopened, and custom tiles were created to match the original ceramic tiles found below the windows. The interior now features a state-of-the-art state-of-the-art audio and video recording studio. This was one of our favorite projects. It really, really was. We appreciated the team's painstaking efforts to restore the integrity of the building and the celebration of the building's history inside and out. Passion for the project was clearly evident. Amazing work. Once again, let's give a round of applause to all of the nominees and award winners. Great job. And now I'd like to introduce Commissioner Lynn Maddox, who will continue with the honor awards.
Hello, I'm pleased to present the Achievement Award. It's given to an individual in recognition of his or her extraordinary leadership in preserving Nashville's history, either through research and writing history or through advocacy and raising public awareness through history and preservation. Lorenzo Washington has been involved with the music and entertainment business for over 40 years and has been crucial in celebrating the African-American musical history of Jefferson Street. He opened his first shop, the Soul Shack Record Shop and Boutique, in the Buena Vista neighborhood in the early 1970s. In 1976, he connected with Moses Dillard and Jesse Boyce to form Dillard Boyce Productions, the first African-American production company on Music Row. In 2010, he founded Jefferson Street Sound, which is the only African-American music production company offering studio and rehearsal space on Jefferson Street. As CEO of JSS Records, Mr. Washington helps carry on the famed Street's musical legacy by recording and supporting new and emerging artists. He is equally passionate about documenting and preserving the history of Jefferson Street music scene. Mr. Washington's Jefferson Street Museum is the epicenter of this work. From floor to ceiling, the many but mighty museum treats visitors to photographs, memorabilia, and art, all in celebration of the trailblazing blues and R&B legends who played the Jefferson Street Club back in the day. To visually convey the street's musical heritage, Mr. Washington and Dr. Morgan Hines created a unique graphic titled Nightclubbin' on Historical Jefferson Street. There's a copy on your cover, and I hope as you go outside on your way out tonight, you'll look at the big example of the tree. It depicts the music genealogy of Jefferson Street as a tree trunk, with tree branches representing notable venues from the 1940s to the 1970s. The names of entertainers historically associated with particular venues are located within clusters of leaves on those respective branches. Cross streets marked along the tree trunk help identify the locations of the various clubs and hotspots. Mr. Washington's enthusiasm for Jefferson Street musical history has established him as the go-to person for speaking engagements and tours, including school groups, Vanderbilt University Chancellor's Charters, and the Nashville chapter of the Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society. In 2015, Vanderbilt Space Learning and Mobility Lab partnered with Mr. Washington to create the Jefferson Street DSSL, a digital spatial storyline. The Jefferson Street DSSL is embedded with archival media, including photographs, oral history, news articles, and song playlists collected from various resources using Storyliner, an interactive digital mapping app. The Travel Channel's Andrew Zimmerman featured the museum on his show, Driven by Food. Mr. Washington was a lead advocate in the preservation of the last original live music venue remaining on Jefferson Street. Like many of its contemporaries, Club Barron boasted an incredible list of legendary performers. It is also the site where Jimi Hendrix and Johnny Jones had their famous guitar duel. Today, the modest building at 2614 Jefferson Street is home to Elks Lodge, number 1102. The property became a local historic landmark on October 17, 2016. For all that he has done and for all that he is doing, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to present Mr. Lorenzo Washington with the Metro Historical Commission Achievement Award.
I only want to say a couple of things. Thank you, Mayor. And thank you to the Metropolitan Historical Commission. And I also want to thank some of my friends from Vanderbilt, especially Dr. Rogers P. Hall, for his quest of help doing this project with the Jefferson Street Sound. Dr. Hall, I think there are some of the, his assistants back there in the back. Would you stand? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. They have been so much help to me during the preservation of Jefferson Street. And I intend, and first, my family. My family has been so supportive of me during all of my ventures, and I call them ventures because there's been so many. And, and I'd like for them to stand, my family, my brothers. And my best friend, Dr. Morgan B. Hines, is he here? Dr. Hines, would you stand? He did all of the graphic artwork on the tree. Dr. Hines and I have been friends for 45 years, and we've been this close for 45 years. So I treasure that. And I also would like to thank my team from Jefferson Street Sound, Ingrid Fletcher, if she's here, Jarrell Pearson. Jarrell was here just a little while ago. I did see him. There's Ingrid standing there. Oh, in the back. Oh, there he is. There's Jarrell in the back. And my inspiration came from God. This is an assignment that I'm working on now. I was assigned this because I did not have the knowledge. I wasn't a musician. I wasn't an artist. I wasn't any of that. And when God assigned this to me, I said, now, how do you expect me to represent so many people that put their lives into music, into entertainment? How do you expect me to do this? Just follow my lead. And I followed his lead, and I followed his lead all the way to this stage. And that's been about 6 years now of working on these projects. And some of the folk that was inspirational to me to even start a museum. Now, starting a museum is not an easy thing. And Miss Marion James was one of my biggest inspirations to start this museum. I was close to Herbert Hunter. We were raised up together. And Frank Frank Howard. Matter of fact, Frank Howard is sitting right here. There he is. He's one of the artists that has been around since the early 60s, since Night Train. Some of you may have known about Night Train to Nashville back in the 60s and 70s. And Frank was one of the main ones. Matter of fact, his pictures on the album cover of the two-part album that Night Train got a Grammy for. These guys got a Grammy. So they did some pretty powerful things. Now I'm on the mic, huh? And I also want to thank Mr. Tim Walker for all that he's done to help raise awareness to the Jefferson Street Sound Museum. And I'd also like to thank some of the other artists. Is any of the other artists that played on Jefferson Street or that is on that tree in this building? Is any of them here? Jesse Boyce. That's Azrin Boyce. Now, Jesse Boyce, and I was going to get to Jesse Boyce. Jesse Boyce and I were in business on Music Row. We were the first black production company to be accepted on Music Row, and I'm proud to have been a part of that. And Jesse and I was together for about 30 years all total, and it was a great relationship. And I'm determined to keep this history alive so that we can pass it on to the younger generations, because what I'm doing over there was about to die. It was about to die before I was assigned to do what I'm doing. And I want to thank all of the artists. I want to thank all of the folk that was a part of helping raise awareness to the Jefferson Street nightclubs, the artists and musicians that played in the clubs. I'm just honored to have been the person that is representing all of these great musicians and artists. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Carol Busey. I serve as the county historian, and it is my great pleasure to be here tonight with you to make a presentation on behalf of the Metro Historical Commission, the Commissioner's Award, which goes this year to the Friends of Fort Negley. The award will be received here tonight by Gary. Where are you, Gary? Come down, please. Antoinette. And we are delighted to have all of these folks here, Molly Miller, Gary Burke, and Antoinette Van Selm, on behalf of this group. This award is given annually by the Metro Historical Commission to a group or organization that has exhibited exemplary efforts towards historical preservation. And certainly, I assume that there is no one in this room, undoubtedly nobody within earshot here, who hasn't heard of the Fort Negley project and the jeopardy that the project seemed to be in for a while. Let me tell you just a little bit about this group. When this group was founded only 5 years ago, it was a joint effort on the part of Metro Parks and Recreation as well as the Metro Historical Commission to provide a group of citizens with a means to more actively provide educational, physical, and financial support for Fort Negley Park, which is listed on the National Registry of Historic Places and is a locally designated historic landmark. In 5 short years, this group has sponsored education and preservation programs there. It has become, above all, a group of fearless advocates for the preservation of green space in our city, and in particular, this park. From the group's beginning, it worked in close partnership with the Visitor Center at Fort Negley on a diverse array of programming that have appeals to every age group and every interest that people might have. For example, the popular Fossils at the Fort event was created to provide people of all ages an opportunity to learn about our geography and geology here in Davidson County. With this abundance of coral fossils that had been so well preserved, this became one of the group's most popular projects. After all, children love nothing better than digging in a pile of rocks. The group has sponsored various events related to the Civil War and its sesquicentennial. Specifically a variety of encampments and living history events there that have allowed the visitors to experience firsthand the daily life of the Civil War era here in Nashville. The Fort Negley Descendants Project has collected personal stories to reinforce an understanding of the Civil War era in Nashville and Tennessee history, as well as the important connection of this particular site to the larger story of the Civil War in the South and particularly in Tennessee. With the partnership with Vanderbilt University's Center for Digital Humanities, the Descendants Project is building an oral history archive to honor the descendants of the African American laborers and soldiers who built and defended the fort in the 1860s. With the support of this group, Fort Negley has strengthened its connections with the surrounding neighborhoods through a variety of events. Neighborhood reunions for South Nashville, Cameron Trimble neighborhood, the Edge Hill neighborhood, and an annual popular event, the Taste of WeHo, which I must admit that I did not really know what WeHo stood for, Wedgwood Houston, for all of us who may not quite be hipsters but think we want to be hipsters. Volunteers from this group also provided assistance with site maintenance, and they continue to do this through reed wrangles and cleanup days, although I must admit my favorite of the cleanup crew is the Chew crew. If you haven't been there and seen our local shepherd in action with the dogs and the sheep, you have really missed something special. No one really paid a whole lot of attention to this group until last year when stories began to be published about the redevelopment of a 21-acre site adjacent to the Fort Negley Center that had been the site of Greer Stadium. The Friends of Fort Negley and a partner group, Save Our Parks, joined forces, rolled up their sleeves, and went to work, making headlines trying to halt a redevelopment project. Their argument seemed simple enough. The proposed development would have an adverse effect on this important historic site and the surrounding parkland, where archaeologists now believe that slaves and free blacks who worked for the Union Army during the Civil War are buried. Together, the Friends organization rallied many groups and individuals for this important cause. I doubt that there's a single person in this room that did not hear the rally cry and step up to help this heroic effort. They campaigned for responsible planning and management of the entire Fort Negley Park site, the entire 60-acre hill there, including the Greer Stadium parcel. You know your project is really critical when Historic Nashville, Inc. names your project as all 9 of the Nashville 9. The developers ultimately withdrew the controversial plan. Today, the Friends of Fort Negley and its allies continue to advocate for the site's future by helping to fund a cultural landscape assessment that will be overseen by the Metropolitan Historical Commission. The assessment will identify Civil War and WPA resources such as stonework, terracing, and archaeological resources across the entire landscape. The resulting report will guide best practices for the future as the city envisions a park that will recognize and properly honor a rich and complex history at this site. So it seems particularly appropriate here in 2018, the 90th anniversary of the city of Nashville's purchase of this property and the establishment of Fort Negley Park, that we recognize the Friends of Fort Negley and present them with the Commissioner's Award. Gary Burke, Molly Miller, and Antoinette Van Zelm. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
To Mayor Briley, Tim Walker with the Metro Historical Commission, former board member Jim Forkham, and all the Friends of Fort Negley board members, please stand at this time and be recognized. Friends of Fort Negley board members. Thank you, Dr. Carol Busey, my favorite historian. You've taught me so much, and thank you for what you do for Nashville and the state of Tennessee. On behalf of the Friends Fort Negley Board, we accept this award from the Metro Historical Commission for this prestigious Commissioner's Award to honor the efforts of the Friends of Fort Negley. Being a descendant of one of those soldiers that was mentioned in the aforesaid progress of Fort Negley, I am deeply humbled to be here on behalf of my great-great-grandfather, Peter Bailey, who served at Fort Negley. We stand here today with a very bright future for Fort Negley because of the collaborative efforts resonated in our community. Many organizations, community, and civic groups joined together for a common cause, Greer Stadium at Fort Negley Park. Under the daily management of Director Krista Castillo and Assistant Director Tracy Harris, the vibrancy of this very active park is impressive. Greer Stadium will soon be coming down. A cultural landscape survey is underway. After the deconstruction of the stadium, efforts will be led by Monique Odom, Parks Director, and the Parks Board to determine the future of the Greer parcel, and to honor the legacy of the laborers who built it, those 2,771 laborers aforementioned, who died also building the fort during the destruction. Most of you in this audience are friends of Fort Negley, and we thank you for being a part of this journey with us. We also want you to be involved with us as the Friends of Fort Negley, which there is literature in the foyer, and we would love to have you become a member. There are several people and several organizations that we want to personally thank, and our board member, Antoinette Van Zelm, will do that in just a moment. But we want to also acknowledge country music star Kix Brooks, who was another loud voice for Fort Negley and an advocate for us, and we thank him as well. So Antoinette Van Zelm will thank some other people for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary, and I just want to say that advocates of green space and historic preservation all came to the aid of their friend in need, Fort Negley. While inevitably we have left someone off, here is an attempt to thank these individuals and groups, and I will try to be quick, but I just want this to, and I think we want this to show that it was a whole grassroots effort. It wasn't just our group. We had so much support. Jen Harmon in Historic Nashville, Ann Roberts, David Curry, Robert Hicks, and Sam Wilcox. We thank you all. The Franklin Civil War Roundtable and Greg Wade, the Sons of Union Veterans and Roger Tenney, the Land Trust for Tennessee and Liz McLaurin, Jim Sobry and Vet Links, the Army of the Cumberland and Ridley Wills, and the Friends of Atafama. We are grateful for your support. Betsy Phillips, the African American Cultural Alliance, and Kwame Lillard, the Battle of Nashville Preservation Society, and the Nashville City Cemetery. Thank you all. The NAACP Nashville Chapter, One Nashville, and Pastor Enoch Fuzz, the Civic Design Center, and Cyril Stewart, printer and neighbor Bryce McLeod. We appreciate your support. Fletcher and Bill Koch, the Nashville Predators Foundation, Vanderbilt's Jane Landers and Angela Sutton, Mona Frederick, and everyone at the Warren Center, descendant and advocate Eleanor Fleming. We are so grateful to you. Tina Cahalan Jones, Ben Page, and Page Duke Architects, Zeta Law, podcasters Benjamin Eagles and Mark Fraley, Metro historian Carol Busey. Thank you so much. The Equal Justice Initiative and Brian Stevenson, the Cultural Landscape Foundation and Charles Birnbaum, and Metro Council members at large, we appreciate your commitment to Fort Negley. And Molly Miller will wrap up our remarks. Thank you.
We want to give a special thank you to Councilman at Large John Cooper. It was his knowledge of how to get things done, his drive to do the right thing, and his optimistic persistence that spurred on a small, you could say naive group of preservationists to challenge what seemed to be inevitable. He brought together diverse parts of the Nashville community to celebrate and protect the story of those workers who built the fort and the importance of their labor to our city and to our whole country. Yeah, it was really something. So now the diverse, vibrant community incubated by John Cooper is challenged with making Fort Negley an extraordinary place, a green oasis where history, both ancient and recent, comes alive through creative exhibits and activities, a place where history is honored and its impacts are explored, thanks to all who participated.
Hi, everyone. I'm back. I'm Jen Harmon with Historic Nashville, Inc. With closing remarks, I will try to make it brief. I think we're probably running. Yep, there it is. I knew it was coming. Okay, they're probably going to announce that a bunch more times, so I'll even speed up. I did want to thank Mayor Briley. I know he had to leave early, but it's just really incredible to have his support here. And of course, with Fort Negley Park, us at Historic Nashville, we were beside ourselves with everything that happened with Fort Negley Park over the past, not even a year, 6 months, a short amount of time. So we do want to thank him. Also, there are a number of council members. I know John Cooper, I also see Freddie O'Connell, a few other council members that are here tonight. Thank you for your support and being here as well. And I want to thank Tim Walker, the Metro Historical Commission, and especially the Metro Historical Commission staff that make this event happen every year. They do a really, yes. Being a judge this year, I got the chance to see firsthand just how much work goes into this program, and it is a lot behind the scenes work to make this night happen. So, especially Scarlett Miles too, if you see her, it's all her, and a lot of other people. And of course, I want to thank all of you for being here. If it weren't for all of you, we wouldn't have a reason to be here and celebrate tonight. You all support the historic places that make Nashville unique, which is what we do as a nonprofit. Historic Nashville, for those of you that aren't familiar with us, we work to preserve and promote the historic places that make Nashville unique. And we get the wonderful opportunity every year to host this event as part of what we do. We also, in addition to that, we have our programs, our Nashville 9 that you've heard about. This past year was our Nashville 1. We promise to go back to 9 next year, hopefully. And that's our endangered list advocacy campaign that we do every year. We also have a preservation easements program that allows us to protect historic properties from demolition. Among that, we also do educational workshops, special events, tours, to engage the public in Nashville's historic places, as well as continually advocate for preservation issues that affect our city. This year, I do have to mention that we are celebrating our 50th anniversary of keeping Nashville unique. As part of that celebration, we have special events all year long. We had an incredible songwriters night, and coming up later in the summer, we also are going to have a women's history walking tour of downtown that'll be coming up in August. So we hope that you'll join us for that. We also offer behind-the-scenes tours to all of our members. So if you're interested in becoming a member, you can go to places like the Tennessee State Prison, Omohundro Water Treatment Plant, and recently we went to the governor's residence. So we have a lot of wonderful things that we offer to our members only. So if you're interested, you can see me or any of our board members that are here after the event. We also have t-shirts for sale. I have to peddle our wares. We also have some t-shirts. We're really excited about them. They're really soft, so you can find us about those too. But again, these awards are an important way to recognize all of you who not only contribute to making Nashville unique, but also set the standard for how preservation positively impacts our neighborhoods and our city. You all make preservation happen, and Historic Nashville, I deeply thank you. I cannot thank you enough for all the work that you do. So with that, congratulations again to all of our award winners, and also I want to congratulate all of our nominees, and I want to invite you all to the Doyle Hotel for our reception. I've been instructed to give you all directions. If you don't know how to get there, go out the door, make a right turn. It's at 4th and Church. It's not very far away. Just follow the crowd, and we'll meet you over there. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. Have a wonderful evening.